Hello, my name is Joe. I'm 32 years old. I live in the United States of America. It says name a time that I have faced adversity and come out on top. Well, here's one for you. I at this time last year was homeless. I was living on the streets in Northern California. A lot of times I didn't know where I was going to sleep, what I was going to eat. I was in and out of shelters. It was a really rough time for me spiritually, physically, and emotionally. I had lost my house. One of my dogs had got hit by a car. My wife had left me. My family basically disowned me for a little while. I have since reconciled that. I give credit to God. It was a really rough time, but it was a good learning experience. You know, believe it or not, you can see I got kind of like a decent looking haircut. Last year at this time, I had these really dirty dreadlocks down past my shoulders. I had sticks and twigs and all sorts of dirt and stuff. There were times where I didn't shower for I don't know how many days, where I didn't eat or drink for I don't know how many days. I don't know if I've already mentioned this, but drugs is what really brought me to the very bottom of the barrel. But there were all sorts of issues prior to that that just kept accumulating through the years that I had never really coped or dealt with properly. I always dealt with them in different situations, smoking weed, you name it, I've done it. But through all of this, I found faith in my higher power. I believe wholeheartedly in Jesus Christ and his ability to redeem and to forgive sins. I have this peace inside of me now that is it truly goes beyond understanding. And through a lot of prayer and a lot of hard work, you know, but I have to, and I will continue to, and I will always say God gave me the ability to do this, because I would have never been able to do it on my own. There's another cool story that goes with this one, but I'm just going to tell you this, guys. And I ended up on a stage by accident in Northern California at a movie audition that I never planned on being at, and it was an eye opener. I had always wanted to do stuff like that. I had always wanted to kind of be on a stage and act, and I do kind of like being the center of attention. But I had never followed through with it. I was an athlete in high school who had like a tough guy persona, and I didn't really care too much to hear what other people would have to say about me, and it really was more what I was thinking other people would say about me, because really when it comes down to it, that's where we stop ourselves from doing things, is our thought of what other people will think rather than just do it, you know. I don't know how to describe that exactly, but it's what stops us 9 times out of 10 isn't somebody else's reaction. It's what we think they're going to think. So you got to overcome that stuff. And so I ended up on that stage in Northern California at this audition. My name is Joe, for a movie named Saint Joe. I had stumbled upon, believe it or not, I was reading my Bible as I was walking by this place, and I was reading the verse about setting a light on top of a hill. A city sets itself on a hill. Never set a candle under a basket. You light it so that everybody can see, so everybody gets the light. And I was talking and praying a lot at this time, and had a lot of really cool revelations, and I give all credit to God for those. And I was literally asking him this question after I read that verse. I said, God, what can I do to tell more people about you and how you can change lives? And the first thing that popped through my head was I could be a cashier. I was my vision, my goals were so low. Like, I mean, that was my dream job. That's how I was going to tell people everything. And I was thinking, I was pretty happy with it. I was like, yeah, this is cool. I'll be a cashier. And I was ready to go get me a job at a grocery store. And as I was reading that verse and I was praying that prayer and I was thinking I'm going to be a cashier, I looked over and I saw this theater, and I was like, wow, that would be a really cool thing to do. And it's kind of always something I wanted to do. So I opened the door up, and fear got me, and I closed the door, and I almost walked away, but something pulled me back, and I opened that door up, and this woman met me, and she asked me what I was doing there, and I told her, and truthfully, if I'm being 100% honest, I really did not want to do this audition. I was hoping that she would just give me some information and I would just go on my way, and that way I could kind of trick myself into saying, well, you know what, I went for it, I failed, but at least I tried. But in reality, that's not how it went. She invited me in. It was really cool. When I got on that stage, oh man, was that a thrill. And it was eye-opening. It was fulfilling. I mean, I've never felt so good about something in my life. Now there's been quite a few things that I felt really good about, but this was just like, I couldn't believe that I had waited until now to do this. And when I was playing the role, it's funny because I was playing a part that truthfully was almost me to the T at that point in my life. So it was like I wasn't having to act. I was reading the lines, but I realized, like, wow, this is me right now. This is who I am. And as I was playing the part, it was just coming out so natural that it felt natural, and boy did it feel good. So I got off the stage, and Sharon, the woman who actually wrote the play or the movie, she said, "Joe, you're natural." And I mean, that was just like I won't say the nail in the coffin. It was like the last nail being pulled out of the coffin, and that's where I was like, you know what, God just gave me this vision for the rest of my life. And so from Northern California to being homeless with dreadlocks to in and out of shelters, I started seeking acting work, and I've since moved from, I went from California to Oregon to Indiana to Ohio. Now I'm in New York City, where I have played a part in a movie as an extra. Super cool. It's a start. And I've also been in 2 television shows. But leading, it's just, I'm completely blessed, and I just will forever and always be grateful to my Lord and Savior, and I have to give credit where it's due, because I wouldn't have been able to do that by myself. I've since realized, a lot of what I used to do was so not worth it, so I've given up all of every kind of drug. I don't smoke, I don't drink. I was in a really deep, dark place. I've realized, like, if you're seeking honor from people, then you're not going to find what you're looking for. You need to seek it from your higher power, from God. And it's all a process. I'm still learning, so I'm just giving you guys what I do know now. So let me go back real fast to coming to that stage on Northern California, because there's a cool story behind it. I had met this pastor who was walking around this town preaching. He came and he was standing in our group, and he was preaching the Word of God. And I decided, because I had to find something, that I wanted to talk to this guy. And him and I started talking. He started talking about doing a television show about nature, and I was like, man, that's super cool, and I started praying to God. I was like, God, you know what, should I go to this guy's church, because he had a church there in town. And I went back to the shelter that I was staying at, and as I was walking in the shelter, this gentleman had a pair of binoculars, and I complimented him on the binoculars, which at that time I totally wanted a pair of binoculars. I don't know if you've ever been to Northern California, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful wildlife, ocean, mountains, rivers, forests. It's 10 out of 10 when it comes to sightseeing, but I complimented on these binoculars, and he said, yeah, they're pretty nice. He said, would you like them? And I was like, wow, yeah, that's super cool. So I was just praying, like, should I go to this pastor's church, who him and I were just talking about a nature show, and then I walk 5 minutes away, and a guy gives me a pair of binoculars. I'm like, okay, that was God telling me, yeah, go to this guy's church. So I did, and a couple Sundays went by, the pastor and I were getting along really good, and he invited me back to his house to do some housework. He was working on a barn and doing some things around his property, and him and I didn't really see eye to eye on some stuff, and truth be told, we got into a little bit of an argument, some words, and I decided, you know what, I'm out of here. I grabbed my bags and I started walking. Problem is, I was like 80 miles or more north of the town that I was staying in, and I left at like 6 o'clock that night, something like that. I ended up walking for the better part of, I don't know, probably 6 hours, and slept on the side of the road. Well, I got up the next morning super early, started walking. I was lucky enough to get picked up by a driver. Actually, I had got 2 rides that day. One of them was by a musician, jazz musician, super cool guy. But you know, it was a blessing. So I ended up getting back to the location that I was staying at. That's when I grabbed my Bible and I was walking to town to hit a place that serves meals to the homeless community. And as I was reading my Bible walking through town, that's when I hit that verse. So check it out. I had met this pastor. We talked about a nature show. I was given a pair of binoculars. After praying, should I go to this guy's church? I went to the guy's church. He invited me to his home 80 miles away. Him and I got into an argument. I left, hitchhiked all the way back, and grabbed my Bible and was headed to get some food. And as I was reading that Bible, and I prayed, God, how can I tell more people about you and what you've done for me and all these super cool things that had been going on. That's when I looked over and I saw that theater as I was reading that verse about setting the city on top of the hill, being the light so that everybody can see. And I mean, I don't know if you've added that up, but I still add it up, and I'm still mind blown every time I tell myself this story, because it's so 100% true. There's nothing made up about it, and it gave me the vision. It gave me the vision for the rest of my life, and I don't know how it's going to work, but I'll tell you what, I do have faith that God is going to work something out, because if He provides you a vision, He will also give you the provision for it. And I've not been let down at all since I've traveled from California, Oregon, Indiana to Ohio, now to New York City. Boy, the trip just getting from Ohio to New York City was wild, and there's more to that too, because it's just with the way things